Patriots. I mean, they obviously, they got it's the greatest organization, and playing for Mr. Kraft all these years, and for Coach Belichick, there's nobody who's had a better career, I would say, than me. Just being with them. So, who knows what the future holds?
Is there any possibility that you would retire?
I would say it's pretty unlikely, but yeah, hopefully unlikely.
So Peter King did an interview with Robert Kraft, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff in it. And one of the things Kraft says is, my hope and prayer is, number one, he plays for the Patriots, and number two, he retires. He has the freedom to decide what he wants to do and what's in his own best personal interest. And I will tell you, Rex, I was watching, as I'm sure everyone was, at the end of that game to see what would happen, the dynamic with the crowd. Brady got off the field and down those steps very fast.
Greeny, that's what he does when he loses. And unfortunately, I only saw it a few times, but I'm going to tell you, that's what he does. And this is it. But for the people that think that, oh, it'd be good to, get Brady out of there and we'll bring in another quarterback, let me remind you something. I go, number one, you wouldn't win, half your games if you had somebody else at quarterback. I know they'll point to Matt Castle, but that was when the Patriots were really the Patriots. Right. They're not. Now with this team, this garbage team, no chance of it. They win 3 or 4 games without him. Look, I know I went against Brady all those years. Yeah. Got whipped by him several times, okay? The one time I had a chance to coach against the Patriots without Tom Brady, we shut him out in Foxborough 19-0. So forget about it. That guy needs to go nowhere.
Well, Tom Brady's greatness, I think, doesn't need to be debated. His future, I think, however, is very much a matter for debate. And if you read all those quotes from Robert Kraft from that interview that I just referenced, he talked about how it was very important to Brady to set himself up so at the end of this season he's free to do whatever he wants. So I believe they should bring him back. They should do everything he can to bring him back. If he does not come back, Bart Scott, I'm looking at you. What's the right place for Tom Brady to go?
I've been saying it for a while now. I think it's the Chargers. I think what he really wants to do is set himself up for life after football. He's looking at the LeBron model, going out to L.A., being able to sell his TB12 method. Also, we saw Tom really setting himself up a couple years ago when he did the Time versus Time. He's never let us into, how his intimate moments with his kids is because he's trying to brand himself outside of the field. I think it's a perfect marriage because he can go out there and take care of business, but also he's going to have some of the best skill players that he's had in a long time. Henry, Keenan Allen, and also Williams, maybe Melvin Gordon if he's there. Strong defense. I think he'll also be good for business for the Chargers because he'll be able to sell out that stadium that's scheduled to open. They can't fill out any stadiums. He'll be able to fill that stadium just because of his reputation. A lot of Patriots fans out west.
There's a lot about that I sort of like. What do you think, McAfee?
I wore all black today, not because it's thinning, I'm a little bit pudgy after the holiday season, but because we're mourning the end of what I think is potentially the greatest dynasty in the history of sports. I think unless they give Tom Brady all the weapons that he could potentially want next year, I think he's out of there. Great minds think alike, Bart Scott, because on October 24th, I introduced to the world that the Los Angeles Chargers would be the perfect home for Tom Brady because not only are they a team that needs a face, they need something to reinvigorate a fan base out there, but because when Peyton Manning was up and whenever there was talks of him going elsewhere, there was always the rumors and chit-chat that was never legitimized, but it was very real. The Rams were going to Los Angeles. They needed a big face to land the team there. The Chargers haven't even been able to sell out an MLS stadium. Tom Brady loves Los Angeles. I assume Giselle does as well. The Los Angeles Chargers are the perfect landing spot for Tom if he was to leave if the Patriots don't give him what he wants.
What do you think?
Why did you say October 24th like that?
Well, there's a bit of a fight you should know over who first had this idea first.
Bart said it last week.
I got receipts too. No, I got receipts.
Go ahead. Go get it.
I agree that stay in New England, but if he doesn't stay in New England, I look at the Miami Dolphins. Stay in the division, have the opportunity to kind of end the can you do it without Bill Belichick conversation. I'm sure he's close with Brian Flores, or I assume he's close with Brian Flores. And also, the Miami Dolphins have some stars as well. Like Devontae Parker came on this year. Gesicki came on this year. They have the 5th and the 18th pick next year. You know what team has more money than anybody to spend in free agency? The Miami Dolphins. So you can entice Tom Brady, hey, come, and you can help kind of set up this roster exactly the way you want it because of all the money we have.
Well, Dan, first off, that's not going to happen. They just got Chan Gailey as their offensive coordinator. It's not going to happen. So to me, I'm looking at this. I'm just dismissing it.
You're stupid, Dan.
You know why I'm saying it. But look, I love it, man. If he goes to the Chargers,
you want him to go to Clemson.
I'll come back there and shoot, I'll volunteer to coach with Anthony Lynn. My son's out there. I would love it. I hope you two are right, but you're wrong also. he's going to stay with New England.
All right, very quickly, let me just throw out there the notion that Josh McDaniels, his longtime offensive coordinator, is a highly sought-after candidate for a lot of these head coaching jobs. And, Pat, I feel like you've been saying for a while you think the two of them would like to go somewhere together.
I think the original conversation was all about McDaniels and Brady potentially going somewhere. Now, if you remember a couple years back, McDaniels was on the plane to Indianapolis. They had a press conference set up, everything like that. He turns the plane around and goes back to New England. Everybody thought it was because Kraft told him, you'll be the next head coach of the New England Patriots. Now, it feels as if both the Brady era and McDaniels era are about to end. Getting a McDaniels-Brady package, I think, would be a team's dream. And could you imagine if it happened in Dallas, Texas? Could you, the ESPN headquarters would have to move to Dallas if that was to happen. It would be insane. I run hot, Bart.
So I mean, look, I love the sound of it, and certainly for shows like ours, it would be delightful. I will just say this, summing up what I saw the other night, and I would defer to your expertise. Tom Brady may not be what he was 5 years ago, but he wasn't the problem for that football team this year. They had by far the worst weapons of any team in the playoffs, and that includes the Eagles, whose entire receiving corps was hurt.
Hold on. You go back to when he was on the sideline looking at his wide receiver saying, I need you to be faster. I need you to be more explosive, quicker, everything like that. He's been begging, pleading for a better
Look at the interception. Everybody knows as long as you give up a completion, the game is over, yet the receiver's covered, and that causes the pick.
All right, we have much more on this as we continue.
In peace.
But let's get to what will be the biggest story in sports today for sure. Alabama will hold a news conference at noon Eastern today with Nick Saban and Tua Tagovailoa to address the quarterback's future. By now, you know, Tua had a dislocated right hip in November. He's still ranked third overall on Mel Kiper's latest big board. His decision to stay or go could be impacted on where he thinks he'll be picked. Looking to last year's draft, Kyler Murray was picked first overall, got $35 million guaranteed dollars, but even a slip to the middle of the first round severely limits the amount of guaranteed money that would be available. And for the very latest, we have Laura Rutledge with us from Tuscaloosa this morning, knows the ins and outs of the program so well. Laura, what do we know about what will be announced today?
Yeah, Greeny, I don't think I've ever covered a story that's been quite as wild as this one, just from the standpoint of no one knowing what to expect. Tua Tagovailoa has kept this incredibly close to the vest. Only his inner circle knows what's happening. We do know that he informed Nick Saban of his decision over the weekend. Coach Saban actually just passed by me on his phone heading into the office for the day. Of course, he will be part of this press conference with Tua at noon today. But it seems as though they want to keep this incredibly private on the Tua side of things, and for good reason. He wants this announcement to be exactly how he wants it to be, and he's handled that very privately so far.
Obviously, his health is a huge piece of this. He had the exams on Friday. What do we know about his health as of right now?
Well, those exams on Friday were really important. And Greeny, we talked about this with Shefty. Of course, this was a post-op evaluation for that hip. It was already scheduled, but they did want to make sure that it was really tracking along the parameters that were important for them. So they brought in some other specialists to look at the hip. Everything I'm hearing out of that post-op evaluation is very positive for Tua. And of course, you can read between the lines of what you think that may mean one way or the other. Also, the recovery is tracking very well. He's been on the crutch, just one crutch, the partial weight bearing, which was expected through this time. And they're saying that within the next week, he should be able to get rid of the crutch and be able to walk even without that. So, head athletic trainer here at Alabama, Jeff Allen, telling me everything right on track for Tua and his recovery, which means he's going to get back to more athletic activity relatively soon. And then, of course, we'll be able to throw the football soon after that. But this is just a waiting game here. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens here at noon Eastern.
All right, and Laura will be with us all morning long and all through the day with coverage of what is a story that is going to reshape the NFL draft one way or the other.
You know, the refs ran off as soon as they alerted that it was a touchdown. I didn't even go for review, and that's something that I'm sure the league will come out with the new rule next year. Aren't all touchdowns reviewed, especially in overtime? That's on. I'm sure the league will say something about it, or maybe they won't.
So this from Al Riveron, who is the NFL Senior VP of Officiating, who briefly reviewed the play from the league's command center in New York. Quote, there is contact by both players, but none of that rises to the level of a foul. This is consistent with what we've done all year long. We left the ruling on the field. We let it stand. So, Marcus Spears, again, you're the first. This will be your first crack at it. We've not heard from you. Do you believe that should have been offensive pass interference?
By rule it is, but you're not calling that at that time in the game. My biggest issue with with this whole conversation about pass interference is physical down there when you have plays going on like that. We've all played in the league. We know that when you have a one-on-one situation, there will be hand checking, pushing, guys in each other's grill. Now, if you